What's up, and welcome back to another episode of the Barcode Collective podcast. I know I keep telling you I'm going to do this on a regular basis, and I keep falling off, but I got my guy, Alan Nuncio, back in town. He's going to hold me accountable to some of this content creation, podcast being one of them. Super important because, this is the long-form content that's needed for us to get the kind of message across that we want to in regards to Spacebar, some of these other businesses that, we create, because I never wanted to play that marketing game and try to play on people's psychologies and try to tear you down only to build you back up with my services. I'd rather just educate you on the benefits of what we do and have real, raw, authentic conversations. Maybe, sharing a little bit of the vulnerabilities that come along with entrepreneurship. And through that conversation, I want you to be able to have a mindset shift to treat yourself better and invest in yourself and do some of the hard work that's necessary to become the person that you're ultimately trying to become. So with all that being said, I have a guest here, Kevin Mejia, who's become a friend over the past couple months. He's a fellow gym owner here in, the San Gabriel Valley is what we're calling it. Monrovia area. And, he's been coming into the ice bath and, he's been creating a little regular practice of that we've been able to chat and connect, and I think we have a lot of shared values, and I know a little bit of his story, but I definitely want to pack a little bit more of that here for anybody listening. So I guess in typical fashion, my guy, why don't you give me a little bit of the origin story again of, maybe a few highlights on where you came from, how you grew up, and kind of what ultimately got you to this point that you find yourself in now.
Yeah. I just want to say really quick, I liked the authentic conversation part of what you said. I think that was, we're on the same page right there. So, yeah. But anyway, going to the origin story. I'm a gym owner, so it's always interesting to talk about the origin story because I think that I don't even know how people get into what we do in the fitness industry, I guess. And everyone's story is different. Some people just grew up athletes. Some people grew up, maybe overweight and they got a coach and they fell in love with that process and wanted to share that process. For me, I think I have this thing that I say about everything that I do is that I've successfully stumbled my way through life. I just said this exact same sentence yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. I grew up a skateboarder, and I got into mountain biking through kind of like the community of skateboarding and people that hung out at the skate park. As a youngster, I was into music and played guitar and into just all the things that I guess, a guy covered in tattoos might be into when he's in high school, I guess.
Yeah.
And, my dad passed away when I was 17, and sometime after graduating high school and kind of growing up, going to college, I started to develop a lot of anxieties and things like that just kind of wrap around probably like not having processed my father's death and getting into the real world right after that. And I had, my fair share of Joe jobs. I worked at a bowling alley. I worked at the mall.
Yeah.
I was a dog trainer for a bit.
Okay. How'd that go? I got a couple of dogs at the house that misbehave all the time.
Skills for life.
Okay.
Skills for life. Things that will always follow me. And it helps with, when I meet someone's new dog, or if I ever want to get a dog again, or I have a dog, but it's great. And I think, that was a good time. And then I got into the cycling industry. I was mountain biking a lot. One of my really good buddies started taking me on rides, and then he's sponsored. He's pro.
Okay.
and he got onto another company, and then one day came to my house. We like went on a ride, and he's like, "Hey, can I leave my bike here?" I was like, "Can I ride it?" And he's like, "Yeah." So he gave me a bike.
Oh, nice.
I'm talking like a bike, like thousands of dollars bike. And so from that point on, I was hooked. I was going on rides by myself, doing all that stuff, and then getting into the cycling industry. That started to kind of get me more involved in wanting to be more conscious of my health, and especially with all the anxiety I was like kind of having, I made this huge shift. I had like gone to school, quit going to school, came back to school, stopped doing things I shouldn't be doing that are normal now. And then I went vegetarian, sold my car, commuted, rode my bike everywhere. And that became my fitness journey, where like I did grow up a little overweight, but never really thinking about it. Cause I think like with skateboarding and music and all those things, it's not really like and the people that I surrounded myself with didn't really give you trouble for that kind of thing. Okay. But I wanted to be a better cyclist. So I was doing that. I've had some injuries, broken my ankle. I had, torn my PCL partial. And then around that time, decided to get into a vocational program in Pasadena here for personal training. So it was an $8,000 program.
Oh, wow.
It's expensive, right? And I worked at a cycling shop as an employee, doing some sales, a little bit of manager work too. Was moving up in the company, I guess. And I borrowed $4,000 from a friend. And then for every other week, so I'd like get a paycheck, and I would like pay my friend on one paycheck, and then the next paycheck I would pay the school the remainder tuition, the balance, over 6 months. So for 6 months I just did that.
Yeah.
And then you get your cert, and then it's always like, okay, what do you do? And I just went for the first thing that like popped in my head, and I was like, I'll go work at Equinox.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say brands?
Yeah, for sure. So maybe they'll turn around and sponsor us.
So we started working at Equinox, learned a lot, had to basically like relearn a lot of the stuff that we had already gone through, right? Which is like, and this goes back to the thing of like preying on people's emotions and all that stuff, where like you learn sales and you learn how to do closes, and so you get your business, and that stuff's all great. It works if you're trying to get business when you're first starting as a coach. And then I met a lot of really cool people there, people that are still really close friends of mine, which was awesome. And then this is where it starts to get interesting, is I had a manager who was going to get fired because of something another manager did. Like around the... A lot
of gym politicking, huh?
Yeah, like people were fluffing up numbers where they shouldn't have been fluffed up, pulling sessions where they shouldn't have been pulled. And we all had to get the heat for that. So he left. And then around that time, I took a vacation to go visit my mom in Oregon. She lives in Bend now. So like I grew up in Monrovia, and she moved away. And I was like, oh, I'm going up. I want to go to Portland, because I've been to Portland before. I loved it. So I was like, I'm just going to call it Crunch Fitness. Like that's the next tier, whatever, the other gym, that like they have up there. There's no Equinox up there. So let me see what I can do. Called the manager, and somehow got a hold of the area manager of Portland. They have 3 gyms out there. And I went in to like not interview, but just like, hey, let me go check out a gym.
Yeah.
And then I just ran the assume the sale game. And I was like, right. So, what do we got to do? What's the next step, so that I can make the move out here?
Yeah.
Just assume that sale. And then the guy, his name's Brandon. He was like, well, I guess I'll send you the new hire paperwork. And, and if you send it back, well, you were good to go, And I was like, okay, cool. So, I called my manager, his name's Adnan, and I was like, hey man, I got this offer. What do you think about it? And then he goes, hey man, I think that's a great offer. I'm going to counter offer though. And then he goes, I'm working for this company that is doing online personal training. I'm basically a manager right away, and I can bring you in with me, and we can grow on this together. It's a startup, And I was like, okay, tell me more, right? Yeah. So I met with the owners.
What year was this?
This was 2015.
Okay.
Had to be. And so we do that whole thing. We talk about it. I met the owners. That was all good. And then I was like, all right, I'll pull the trigger. Let's do it. I'll work from home. You guys are going to give me some clients to start. And what they really liked is that I took a client. This is always like a harsh thing, but like you take your clients from wherever you left, you know?
Yeah.
And I took a client with me and I told them, I was like, oh, I got this client. He's going to do it with me. And so they were like, no one's ever brought their own clients onto what we do, you know? So they really liked it.
Yeah.
They fed me like 4 or 5 more. So I was good. I was cruising. I started working from home. So 2015 was doing online personal training before the COVID.
Yeah. Early to the game. Man.
Yeah.
Game.
So when that hit, I was prepared. And so what that gave me was a lot of freedom with my time, which was great. And I took advantage of it at the time where I was just like, you know, I was already into jiu-jitsu, so I started doing a lot more of that. I was riding my bike everywhere. I was traveling because I could just work from anywhere. Yeah. My laptop or whatever is with me. It was cool. And then that's what afforded me the opportunity to eventually live abroad. So one of my close friends decided to move to Munich, and I was like, I work from home. Yeah, I'll go. Yeah. So I bought, it was January. I think I like did my taxes or something. Taxes hit, and I was like, buy my one-way ticket for April. And then 3 months later, you know, took off.
Man, that's amazing. I mean, just as you said, you know, you feel like you stumbled into a lot of these opportunities, and based on the way that you share that your story, like for sure, it definitely seems to be the case. And, you know, I think there's a lot of people out there that really emphasize this idea of like having this goal and having this vision for yourself and then working towards that vision. Me personally, I would say that I largely stumbled into a lot of the opportunities, or at least where I'm at today. Like, so I lean more towards that of just like being open to opportunities, being curious and kind of going for things. What do you think? What would be your advice to say others in regards to pursuing like success or that? Like, are you content with your journey, or are there some areas where you're like, fuck, had I thought about doing this, I would have done X, Y, and Z? Or what would be your advice for the young folk out there?
Yeah, I think a lot of people say this, and I think it's true, is you can't force it for sure. But I do think that there are things that I could have learned early on. That's sounding weird right now. There are things that I could have learned early on about planning and business and things that you might learn like in a conventional setting, I guess, that like you wind up learning those lessons the hard way. But it's hard to give advice for that kind of thing, I think, because you know, I've talked about this with other people where like you could give someone a blueprint of everything you did, but they won't do it the same way that you did it. You know, and if you start trying to like fall into this, like, this is the way it should be when I'm doing this thing, or like, this is the way that somebody else did it, it probably won't work for you, you know? And I think that it's the same with everything, right? Like, going back to like, even like skateboarding, right? Is like, for some reason, like I understand the kickflip way different than someone else understands the kickflip, and I suck at kickflips. Yeah. But I can explain it to somebody,
right?
You know?
Yeah. No, I agree with a lot of that. You know, and I think that's why I kind of take issues with consultants and stuff like that. You know, there's like do this thing. You know, I largely view myself as like a seeker versus like a believer. Like I don't want to just because you tell me something like it means nothing to me, you know, like I don't just believe in things. Like I'm very skeptical, and like I have to experience it. So it's hard for me sometimes. I sometimes, you know, say that I'm kind of uncoachable in a lot of ways, because like I need to just go out there and learn these things on my own. And then also like this whole idea of like planning and working towards a specific goal. I mean, I think there's way too much of an emphasis thinking that you have all this control over these things. You largely don't. So to get to a certain point, like say you want to be a successful gym owner, there's a rough idea of what that looks like, and you can build kind of a bit of a plan. But when you're building out that plan, you're only putting in like the good things, like the things that you think are common sense that get you to there, right? You're never going to choose, say, oh, I'm a pandemic to hit, right? But on this trajectory for this person and being the successful gym owner, that pandemic kind of had to hit in order to put you in that path to this thing. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like you never choose the shit to happen to you when usually it's the shit that gets you to the goal.
Yeah, 100%. And I think with things like that, right, it's always like you can have a plan, but you have to plan. You got to think on the fly too. Like it's the pandemic is not on the plan, but when that hits, you got to be like, all right, I got to do something different for this thing. Your mission, I guess, is the same mission, but now you got to kind of you got to work with what you got. You know, if your mission is to hoof it across the JMT, right? And it rains, like you might not hike the day it rains, or you kind of like you came with a rain fly or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not going to be sunny all those days that you're out there. So, that is, you got to just stick to your principles on what you want. And it doesn't matter what gets in the way. You have to just kind of, and it's going to get hard. And when those situations get hard, it's just, you keep going.
Yeah.
You know, how bad do you want that thing? Or how much do you care about what you're doing? Right. Even if, you know, like a lot of people want success but then how do you define success to yourself?
Yeah.
Right. For a lot of people, I think it's not just financial success. I think that's a big motivating factor, but like anything else, right? Motivation is fleeting, and you know, like money doesn't fill all the holes in your life.
Yeah.
So, you got to really care about what you're doing. Yeah. That's probably the most important thing. Is if you don't care about that thing, you're not going to get very far with it, right? Yeah. That's always number one, and I think if anyone can take anything away from that, is just find something that you really care about. And a lot of times, man, like you got to work a job that maybe you don't really like, but hopefully that job can give you a means to an end to do what you really like to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. So, I mean, I think the sweet spot, I guess, would be have this goal, maybe create a path that you feel is ideal, and then just don't get attached to that path and know that there's going to be so many deviations. A lot of bad things are going to happen that could very well turn out to be the best things that ever happened to you. And just stay, disciplined on pursuing that goal. Be persistent and patient. You know?
Yeah. I mean, somebody said this to me the other day. They were like, they were talking about their dad or somebody that has a flooring company, you know, and he was like, somebody asked him like, oh, how'd you get so successful in flooring? Right. And he's had his flooring company for 50 years. And they called him an overnight success. And he was like, yeah, no, it took me 50 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
So people don't see the middle of that, which is like that journey where, and the 30 times that this guy probably like was going to throw in the towel on his business and be like, man, flooring's probably not for me.
Yeah.
You know, or gym ownership's not for me. And, even for myself recently, like I've experienced those things, and I have to always, come back to me caring about what I'm doing and how it aligns with the, like, it's like the things I like. And I think it's sometimes just as simple as that. You just like it. It doesn't even have, like, it's like, I use tattoos as an example. Like people are like, oh, what does it mean? I like it.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
Yeah.
Why mountain biking? I like it. Mm-hmm. And if you like it, and if you care about it, if you like it, you're going to care about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, you're online coaching, you're in Munich. It sounds like you're, living kind of the dream. Where does that take you next?
I was there for almost 2 years, year and a half.
Damn.
The original plan was like to go to school there because school is free. And I was really interested in getting into like physical therapy. But to go to school for free, you got to know some German. So like you can get a visa for language learning. I did that. And then, Munich was actually cool. It was like a very amazing experience because I continued personal training. I had this online job, but then started to get clients while I was out there because there was a lot of expats. And in a place where you have like a big expat population where, you know, a country is like, businesses are bringing, you know, people from other countries to do work. They're usually getting paid really well. So it was really lucrative. And so I got into business with this Irish guy. That was great. And then towards the end of it, it started to get a little sour. But then around that time, I came to town. I came back to Monrovia and Pasadena area to like visit my friends and family for Christmas. And I went to go visit my jiu-jitsu professor. So I went to go visit a jiu-jitsu academy, but to backtrack a little bit, where I went to go do my personal training certification, he was my instructor there.
Okay.
So I went to go visit my partner, Ben, and now my partner, Ben, and was like, hey, this is great. You're doing such a good job with what you're doing. And then he had built a little like small boot camp thing in the back of the gym. And then was like, yeah, hey, he just like offhanded, you know, like, why don't you move back and we'll split the gym 50-50. And I was like, let me think about that, man. Yeah. Like I left that like really thinking about it. Not because things were going bad in Germany, but like this thing like fell into my lap. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to, you know, I wasn't going to say no to that. Yeah. You could, but like, I was like, why say no? Let's try it out. So that was December. By August of the same year, I moved back and I picked up my life again and brought it back here. Yeah. And that's what we started doing. So we were in the back of the Jiu-Jitsu Academy, like a shared space. We had like 500 square feet doing that for a little under a year. And then we found a 1,000 square foot space just north of it in Arcadia. And we opened up the second iteration of what the gym was called at the time, which was 1A Fitness, First Avenue. And then, I always said too, like personal trainers, they write programming out. It's either like A1 or like 1A, 1B, that thing too.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we started doing that. And then, man, like we were there we opened up I signed the lease in November. I built out for 3 months. And this was like my first getting my feet wet into just like doing a full on construction project. And I was like, we need to save some money on this. So like I rolled out that rubber flooring myself. I painted it. We built benches. I had help from some family a little bit. You know, my mom came and she was like, I'll help you paint, you know?
It's a very familiar situation I find myself in. So.
Yeah. So started doing all that, you know, like avoided all the contractors and we built a gym and it was awesome. I had a lot of support from friends. I got like you know, we didn't pay for a rig. Thank you, Johnny. And so
shout out to Johnny because the rig that I got over at Spacebar is from him too.
See, there we go.
But I fucking paid for it.
He still love you, Johnny. The rig that he gave me was the first rig he ever bought for his space. I think he said it to me is for his first space in CrossFit Pasadena. Okay, his original gym. And it was sitting in his garage. So he gave me all the pieces and I went and slapped it up. And so we got the gym going. And at the time, you know, we were still kind of running like larger. We tried to go larger and we tried to get like 8 to 10 people in the classes in 1,000 square feet, considering all the equipment. But then like my interest started to shift more into like, you know, I started to get a little bit into CrossFit, but there were things about it that didn't really like jive with me, I guess. And so we started to add more barbells and started to kind of like play with different ideas. And we were there for a year, less than a year, boom, pandemic hits. The conversation that's one of the first times where we were like, what do we do? Yeah. Right. And I was like, hey, I know. I was online personal training before. I know how to do this. Let's do this. Yeah. This will be fine. So we fully transitioned online. We did it quick. Started doing the Zoom thing. And actually did better that first lockdown. It was like 3 months, right? That first big lockdown where nobody could leave their house. We did great. We did like a full 3-month program thing for everyone and people stuck it out through that and we did awesome. And we didn't even get to use our space. So then we kept going. It was another 2 years there, with kind of COVID looming over us always.
Yeah.
And then we got broken into. So we got broken into in April. There, after those like first initial like 3-4 months, whatever, we got 2 air bikes stolen and some stuff, like $1,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. They like shattered the windows. The dude cut himself on the way out. The police were like, "We got DNA. We might be able to catch him." I never heard a thing. And then we kept going. We came back in, and then we had actually let a lot of members like borrow some equipment, right, to take home for the online stuff. And so when they brought it back, when we were coming back into the gym, this is like around July, they all came back. We got broken into again.
Oh, damn.
Same person, right?
You think so?
Yep, for sure. Like cameras, same guy,
okay, gotcha.
And this time he like wiped us out. He took dumbbells, kettlebells.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that was twice. And I remember like my partner being like, "Should we close up shop? Should we just like take the rest of the equipment, take it to your house and call it a day?" And I was like, I don't know. Like for me, this is one of those things where it's like maybe pragmatically it would have been the right thing, but like I'm so attached to this thing that I feel like I'm not done. And I was like, no, like I need to keep doing this. This is what I want to do. So then we fast forward through that, like another year, 2 years, we started to do great again. And then we wanted to open up a second gym. So we started looking for larger spaces. All the meanwhile, I was already into coffee, but then I just started to invest more money and effort into coffee for me.
Yeah.
And this is like coming like coffee snobbery and coming from like being a beer snob the same way. Is like I just wanted to like explore all this stuff. And so was trying to figure out what to do. We had been talking about like rebranding the gym and doing a bunch of stuff. And I had come up with like a name for the coffee company. I tell this story sometimes. I won't tell it today, but it's one of those like, all great ideas happen here. It was like a shower thoughts idea and came up with the name. And then it was like, let's put it in the gym, and then found a space that just really matched that vision where we got a space. I had a little kitchenette and I was like, this is it. This kitchenette, this is the coffee shop. There's this whole thing upstairs. We can do a lounge and we can do the gym down here. It's going to be rad.
Yeah.
So then pulled the trigger on that. And that thus far has been, maybe like mentally the biggest challenge because we took on something bigger where I'm on the hook now for more, I guess, but not really because luckily, and I know I'm lucky, I had awesome people that believed in what I was doing. So they invested and I got to, I get to be a partner in the gym, in that way. But that does not come without its stresses, I guess. And so we've been doing great though. Like the community is flourishing. And I am getting to do the coffee stuff. We haven't gotten to execute some of that stuff, but I now, have a way to start trying to grow a coffee brand as well, where my interests are kind of like lying on doing that as well, because I really like it. And my, like you kind of got to have a selfish reason for this kind of stuff sometimes where like, I want to be like a little kid with toys in the coffee realm. Like I just want this cool stuff that I can play with and do and tinker.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to share coffee as an art to people, because sometimes I like drink a cup and it's like listening to a song and I'm like, whoa, this is rad.
Do you feel any pressure like to monetize that? Or are you okay with just having this like be that?
I do want to monetize it because I think like, it's the same with personal training, right? Like or coaching is like, I would do it for free, but I have to make money. So, and it's also like a high value, high ticket item, that really helps people. And I think that when people pay for it, they're accountable for it, for coffee, I think it's nice because it doesn't cost a lot for me to share.
Yeah.
$3 cup of coffee, $5 cup of coffee, or $20 bag of beans. And what's nice about it is that, so like I woodwork as well, right? And I had people ask for commissioned pieces where they wanted me to make them a cutting board or like make them a nightstand or something. And I really enjoy the process of creating and building something, right? And woodworking really like gives me that creative thing that kind of music gives me, but it's a little more mechanical. And so, but I hated doing it for somebody else, if that makes sense.
The woodworking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I built if you go to my house, there's like a coffee table, I built it. The TV stand, I built it. And like building those things were great. And I felt, not, I guess passionate, but like I felt a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a fulfillment doing those things.
Yeah.
When I was doing it for somebody else, I feel like it sucked the art out for me.
Interesting.
Right. Cause now like they're going to care about what it looks like and and they paid for the wood and, they want it by a certain time and it's for this gift. And like, I kind of want to work on it on my own pace because this is art. Like I don't want to rush this thing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't like that. So now going into coffee, I started roasting, and roasting is like, you're taking so many steps back from the point when people actually like put coffee into their mouth. Right. And I'm taking like green coffee and roasting it however I want and researching coffee and researching origins and all this stuff and really kind of like getting the science down behind it so that it becomes art when I roast it. And the nice thing is that now I can share some coffee, but it doesn't cost, $500.
Yeah.
And I can make what I want. And if you want to buy it, it only costs you $5. And if you didn't like it, you only lost out on $5 and you didn't wait 3 months for a wooden piece or something,
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the way that I think about it, is that I'm just trying to like make what I want. And if you like it, you can buy it.
Yeah.
But we're going to make it and we'll do it. And so that's where like, it's going to be small batch until it takes off, of course. But it's just a self-fulfilling process, or I get to fulfill my desire to create something for myself. And then I get to share it with people, which I think like I share those ideas with musicians and artists, especially growing up playing music, where you don't want to, like, people will write an album or something and they're like, oh, it's not like the old stuff. And it's like, well, no, but like I'm making music for myself, not for you.
Right.
And if you want to buy the music or listen to it, then go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm really appreciating the fact that you have all these different passions, and that as you have stepped into this role of an entrepreneur and owning businesses, that you've maintained those. Like, I'm really impressed by that, because I've lost myself 100% as I stepped into ownership. And everything that I had ever had as a hobby is gone. You know what I mean? Like 100%. And like, even looking back at like because you're pretty young. How old are you?
30.
Okay. Yeah. Pretty young. And it's like looking back, in my mid 20s and, as I started to, get into entrepreneurship and open up our first gym, like looking at the things that I thought I was passionate about, I didn't have any to begin with, like I had some friends, we liked to drink and we'd watch football, and, we're season ticket holders to the Sounders. So it was like very sports oriented, but I never really had anything outside of, I never really had any hobbies, which is, so I guess the things that I let go of as I stepped into entrepreneurship with a lot of like friendships. I moved down to LA. I stopped drinking. I always watch sports with my brothers. I don't have family here. So like those, and I just completely went all in from wake up every single day to go to bed, thinking and working on these businesses. And that's all that I have, which is why I wake up probably feeling like, what am I doing with myself? But so it's like, I just, I think that some of, seeing this like really is going to rub off on me, because I'm, I've hit certain walls where I'm like, I really got to, get out on a walk and go do some hiking or whatever it might be. So knowing that like you're so invested in multiple things like that gives me a lot of hope to get back to that. you know?
Yeah. And I think that there's a balance to that. I mean, I think some people truly believe that if you really want to succeed at something, you need to just go all in on that thing and nothing else matters. And I think that that's great. And I think that that works for some people, right? Like, people will often allude to the Jordans and how obsessive they were over the sport and those things. That's rad. I think that's great that they found something that they're that obsessive about. Not to say that I'm not obsessed with what I do. I think as entrepreneurs, everyone will understand that you're not going to get paid a lot for being an entrepreneur on that front end. And in fact, a lot of people wind up paying for their job, basically, But for myself, I find a lot of that having art and having activities, and my list is 100% endless. And people are like, "What don't you do?"
Yeah.
Right? Like, we could start from skateboarding, mountain biking. I play the guitar, the drums, right? Like the music in general. I woodwork now. I like coffee and like taking time to learn about coffee. So like hand pouring and learning espresso, all that stuff. I'll go rock climbing. A buddy got me into slacklining. It's just like 1,000 different things. And there's not enough time in the day for all those things. And there's some things that I will do more often. Jiu-jitsu is another one. And there are some things that I will prioritize more than others because they're things that I can do on the regular and learn a lot more, or things that I need to have like regular attendance to come back to. Like for music, I can say that it pains me to say it, but I don't play music as often as I used to. Like I walked around with a guitar in my hand in school, and that's how I got good. Nowadays, it's like I pick my guitar up once a week for like an hour, right? Skateboarding, I would be out all day for 6 hours skateboarding and like in the sun. Cycling, like I sold my car so I could cycle every day. And then like I would also get in, like I did the math and was talking about like how much I would commute. I would commute to school 25 miles twice a week, total, and then to work 10 miles every other day. So it was like 100 miles just in commuter miles. And then I would stack on rides on top of that. I was so fast.
Yeah.
Now I'm 30 and I'm slower, and it's like a slog up the hill every time. But still, like lately I've been trying to, Wednesday nights, I meet up with some friends, we go mountain bike, and it's nice to reconnect to your roots for me. And it's also nice to be able to do things that I'm not necessarily doing for other people, I guess. Not to say that like running a business isn't something that I'm doing for other people. We do that for ourselves, but, and I think that even running a business is me creating something. There's a creative process involved in entrepreneurship that people need to realize, is that it's not just like an ABC.
Yeah.
There is an ABC, but now like how you arrange A, B, and C is the art.
Yeah.
Right. And I enjoy learning a lot of things that connect me with other communities as well. Because to me, there is so much more to life than the gym. There was a coworker of mine that used to be like, "Oh, I don't date trainers." She was a trainer as well at a gym at Equinox, and then I was like, "Oh, why not?" She's like, "Because I feel like all trainers can ever talk about is training," and I was, yeah. Like I want to talk about music. I want to talk about like deeper things. I want to talk about other stuff. What are your activities outside the gym? And like, what can you think back to like other things that you did besides like watch sports and things like that, that were things that you, or maybe even things you have now?
I mean, I would say earlier, yeah, I was like maybe pretty into my cars, and like making the sound system like ridiculous, things like that. That was more high school and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, and again, like, I bought a house pretty really young. So like some effort and energy went into building that and, into that. But it's like hearing all the culture stuff. Like, it's like, oh man, that's cool, and I think one of the, as I sit here listening to you talk about it, I'm like, man, what is one of the fundamental differences between us that, and why I'm not that way and why you are that way. And I think what I'm thinking about is like, you have this inherent, like self-worth and validation that you can create for yourself by just doing something and enjoying it for yourself. And whereas like, I like to build this wood, it's actually less pleasurable for me to build this for somebody else. It's more pleasurable for me to do this for me, not care what anybody else says about this piece of art. And I liked it. And therefore that makes it all worth it.
That could also be like it could also be like I'm protecting my ego tactic, because if you think about that too, right? Like, I know that I might mess up.
Yeah.
I might mess up a cut. I might screw something up. And if I mess up my own piece, no one's upset.
Mm-hmm.
I get to fix it and then hide all my mistakes. And especially with the way the world is now around social media, right? Like we now like can curate what people see. And most of the time it's like, look at how great I am at this thing. The wood piece I make, I don't share all those things. I do like to share art though, right? So if someone can usurp any value from that in any way that where they're kind of like, oh, this is really like, they're like, Eric is a person like this. He calls me his fun friend because I do all the activities. Mm-hmm. And so Eric gets a lot of value hanging out with me because I encourage him to try woodworking out, which, we made a cutting board together for himself and he wants to do something for his fireplace, right? He found out I was a cyclist, so I made him ride up, Chantry Flats here in Arcadia. Yeah. And he finds out like I'm mountain biking again, and he's like now thinking of getting a mountain bike. So it's kind of cool to just do what I want to do and to have people be like, I want to try that. And that's always the fun part, right? Like I would love to share that with people that are interested in I have no problem. Like with the bike ride, it's always common where people are like, oh, I'm going to suck though. That's all good.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah,
I started somewhere.
I think why people are gravitating towards that, Eric, I'm sitting back like, damn, that's dope. It's because it is, whether you acknowledge it or not, it's very rare to not only have these different interests, pursue them, and then have a business and still somehow make time for that. So maybe let's talk about like, as you are opening this new gym, what is the emphasis in like creating time for these things while kind of going all in on this new gym? Like you said, there's more expenses, there's more skin in the game. So how do you not give up all those things in this like scarce feeling of like surviving at the new gym?
I think that helps me prevent burnout, right? I think that as coaches in the fitness industry, it's even more so, where we have this dialogue around not letting your physical health go in the interest of pursuing business or financial endeavors, right? I would say that along with that is you should not let your mental health go while you are in the process of pursuing this business endeavor, this entrepreneur thing that you've got going on, right? Yeah. And so again, this goes back to that balance thing for me, where some people don't believe in that. I think I really need that. And I don't know that I really make time for myself. I think I just kind of squeeze it in. I have been scheduling like a bike ride, right? I do a little less jujitsu now than I have done. During the pandemic, when I got into woodworking, I was at home all the time. So like, it was very easy for me to just like finish a session online and then like hop into the garage and do some work. Right. Yeah. And to be able to take the time to like work on new skills. And I think that that's always what I get from that is that and I think that this is a learned skill from skateboarding, where you have to fall 1,000 times and then fall 1,000 more times before you finally land something, and you're going to break bones. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. But with enough tries, you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. Right. So, failure is only failure if you stop.
Right.
And, like have you watched the Tony Hawk documentary?
The
new one? HBO Max.
Okay.
Super good. He said that
we'll put it on tonight.
He said this thing about falling, right? Where he was like, I knew I was going to fall, but I never visualized myself falling. You only visualize yourself landing the trick. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's like that mindset thing around that. And, business wise, but I think like going back to like learning skills and just having a lot of interests is that I really enjoy the process of learning something new. And what this means for me is that I don't become amazing or like the top tier of any of those things, but to the layperson, right? Like I'm pretty good, mm-hmm. right? Like I'm not a phenomenal skateboarder, but if we just yank up any person from outside right now and then like I show them a trick, they're gonna be like, whoa, I'm not the best coffee person now. I want to be great at it, but there's people out there that are better. And to me, it's like, it's nice to, again, like you get to jive with those different communities and you get to be able to speak a different language and then also apply that to everything else that you're doing, to business, to this. Like, what do I learn from slacklining? Balance. How does balance apply to skateboarding? Well, yeah. I'm balancing on 4 wheels or cycling or whatever. Like all these things, they all intertwine to me in some way and become this, like they become me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as I kind of really make an effort to bring things kind of back to my life. And I'm talking about as simple as like fitness, getting back to a training regimen that is, respectable, and like building up more volume and doing all that. I think it's just a lot of like it is framing and finding the way to talk about it in a way that you're going to commit to. So knowing that I put so much effort into, say, becoming the person that I want to become or being the successful business owner or whatever it is. Over the past couple of years, I've looked at, say, my training program or my mental health or my fitness as kind of a separate thing than my work. When in reality, if I was to just embrace it as part of my work, I think I can then get more on board with it from being like this from the standpoint that it's like, because working hard is my narrative. I got that on lock. So now I just need to make that as part of my work. Like by going to the gym, say at 6 a.m. to get this training session it's an extension of the 8 to 12, however long that hour stint is going to be at Spacebar or whatever. It's just an extension of that. It's nothing separate. This is one life that allows me to have more energy, allows me to be stronger. It is the thing. Like there's no separation in those. Same idea with like being able to go for a hike. Like this is the mental health that's going to allow me to be the best version of myself. And just knowing that all of those things contribute to this holistic life that I'm trying to live. I feel like whichever way I'm starting to talk about that to myself, I feel like I'm really finding a little momentum to the point where as I hire new employees over at Spacebar and I'm kind of replacing myself and getting myself out of the shifts that I've been holding, making sure that I'm finding people that can work shifts that can allow me to do all the things that I want to do. If I want to go for a ride with you, I can make sure that I have that accounted for. Just like planning it out, I guess, and just telling myself whatever I need to tell myself in order to do it.
It could be spontaneous though, right? Like I like we work long hours, right? And we spend a lot of time like ruminating and planning the next thing as well.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's like my biggest flaw is I'm a big thinker and I have a hard time like buckling down on the nitty gritty and the numbers and stuff like that. Yeah. So someone has to pull me back for those things. I think that's my weakness, but I think that, all those things that I do, I think for a long time, I tried to separate that from what I do in a way. Like I didn't want, especially in skateboarding, right? Like skateboarding has this like, there's lots of drugs and whatever, right? And alcohol kind of involved in the community, which is no judgments, right? Like we all still enjoy those things here and there. But I thought like, oh, I didn't really want to bring that into this thing that I'm doing for work or whatever. But the benefits that I get from fitness, in my case, that I do for work and the thing that I share with my clients, all of my skateboard friends benefit from that. My cycling friends benefit from that. And like music even, right? Like I think a lot of times people, again, we try to curate our life so that we can show people the parts that we want to show them. And I like loud, abrasive music, you know, and I just like, here's this video of me at this death metal show. Like a lot of people that in business, they're going to be like, what? That's, you know, but at the same time, like we both have nose rings, we both have tattoos, we both, and that stuff, it doesn't matter as long as people are still getting that value from you at Spacebar, right? And as long as, like, if they see like, oh, well, Jacob's getting into cycling, like, and the cycling community needs recovery, and that, so like you get to connect with more people outside of your sphere that can come into this thing, right? Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit, I guess, of like, you know, like you hire a mechanic because it's going to save you time and you like spend the money on it, right? I guess it's a little bit like you're the specialist in this thing and you can go do other stuff that you really enjoy, but you still have your specialty, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think it's a spontaneous process, and you're just going to start doing stuff at a certain point that really resonates with what you think you need to create that balance in your life.
Yeah.
You know, and the way it happens for me is I just start YouTubing it nonstop, and I'm like, what can I learn about this thing? And I start watching the videos online, and it's like all I can think about. And I think I have to get it off my chest. Mm-hmm. Like once the idea is in, until I do it, I can't think about other things. So it's like, it's like somebody like going on a Netflix binge in a way, you know, like they can only think about this thing right now. So they just need to finish the whole season.
Yeah. That's largely what it is for different businesses that I have ideas for. And, you know, I typically bring them all to life too. So I'm similar in that regard. So let's wrap this up with, I guess, you know, where people can find you, if they want to come train with you guys, maybe just some last little things you're excited about kind of merging together. You mentioned, you know, the coffee and the fitness thing, and let's wrap it up.
Cool. Yeah. If you guys want to come check out the gym, it's Monrovia. So you guys can go to @Entity Collective. There's a period right before the E on Instagram to find us. You get the address on there. Check out the website, entitycollective.com. And, you know, we got a lot of fun stuff in the pipeline. We're working with Spacebar to, you know, bring some recovery into fitness as well. And we're doing actually events, you know, like, again, fitness is not just this one thing. We're doing an event with a brewery because it's fine to drink a beer here and there. And that's going to be fun, kind of like a pub crawl to the brewery from the gym. And then I think we're going to probably do some sort of giving back to the community event in July.
Okay.
So that news will come out. I did something like that like 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, I really want the gym to do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. It is early June right now. If we can get this episode out in time, there's going to be a special promotion for Entity Fitness members for 40% off massages over at Spacebar Wellness. So if we can sneak this in June, jump on that if you haven't taken advantage of that promotion yet. You got some amazing healing hands.
We went both ways on that too. I offered 40% off to Spacebar people
beautiful.
To come try out a whole month of classes. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, so let's bridge the gap here. Let's merge a little fitness and the recovery and get you guys working out a little smarter, and, you know, still continue to work out harder. But a nice little combination of recovery goes a long way. So, brother, thank you so much for sharing your story again, dropping a lot of knowledge. And again, like, I think one of the main takeaways here is like, it's just inspiring again to know that you don't have to fully lose yourself during these entrepreneurial, adventure that you might find yourself on. That staying grounded through the things that make you happy, your hobbies, your other passions.
You said the word already, inspiration.
Yeah,
all those things are inspiration.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I think that is why I've been so uninspired at times, because you just are doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And cognitively, I know that's not the way. I would never tell someone to do that thing.
Burnout's real.
Yeah, absolutely. But with all that being said, I still am just feel very appreciative of my grind and my work ethic, and just being able to, it's not a badge of honor, but just being able to still grind through obvious burnout. And now it's like, okay, that's enough. Let's bring back a little bit of fun. So I'm gonna hope some of that rubs off on me, and appreciate you guys for spending this hour with us. Follow along at spacebarwellness.com, Lit to Botanical Bar, doing some awesome things out here in Pasadena. So if you guys are in the area, come by and see what we're up to. But until next time, we're out of here. Peace.
Bing.